Hello everybody. My name is Taylor and I work with the Office of Health Promotion. For those who are unfamiliar with our office and what we do, in a nutshell, we proactively educate the SHSU community about health and well-being. Our office falls under the umbrella of the Student Health and Counseling Center. However, we do not provide medical or mental health services. Some of the programs that we do provide include Elevate, which is SHSU's Healthy Campus Initiative for students, faculty, and staff. Cats for Recovery, which is our collegiate recovery program that provides social support and sober activities for students in recovery and their allies. Peer Health Ambassadors, which is our student leadership organization that works to promote wellness through fun and creative events. Program Requests, which is our outreach program that allow anyone on campus to request a staff member from our office to come and deliver a program or presentation to a class, meeting, event, or a residence hall. Some of our signature events that we host every academic year that our office is well known for include flu shot clinics, Fresh Check Day, health fairs, Wellness Week, and Get Yourself Tested events. For more information about our office and our upcoming events, you can also visit our website at www.shsu.edu/OHP or follow us on our Instagram or Twitter at SHSU_OHP. Also, this semester, we are running our Wellness Rewards program. To participate, all you need to do is attend one of our events and your name will be entered into a drawing for a Fitbit Versa. Please be sure to show your first and last name as your Zoom name in this presentation so that your name can be entered. You can also drop your SHSU email in the chat box as well. You will receive one entry for each event you attend, and if you attend at least 3 events, you will automatically win a small prize. Today's Lunch and Learn can count as one of those events. So before we get into the presentation, we're going to play a little Kahoot that I have pulled up already. So if you can see my screen, go ahead and join the game. I'm not sure why you were only seeing the PowerPoint. Give me a second to see if I can fix that. I'm showing my browser. Okay. Is this better? Can you see the Kahoot now? Thank you. Perfect. I think that's about everybody. Let's go ahead and start the game. So most e-cigarettes contain 4 components. Select the one they do not have. Okay, good job. So most e-cigarettes, or none, actually have a mouth shield. They have each of the other components that are listed though. True or false? Electronic vaping devices can help keep young adults away from cigarettes. So this is false. We'll actually touch a little bit on this later in the presentation. Good job, Coleman. You're steady in the lead. About how many non-smokers die each year from secondhand smoke exposure from cigarettes, cigars, hookahs, etc.? So roughly 41,000 people die each year from secondhand smoke. One Juul pod has the same amount of nicotine as 20 cigarettes. True or false? Okay, good job, everybody. This is true. There's a lot of nicotine in a Juul pod. So statistically, 95% of smokers start smoking by the time they're 21. If someone makes it to 21 without picking up smoking, what are their chances of starting to smoke? So because most smokers start before they're 21, the chances are only 2% that they'll start smoking after they're 21. So I see Coleman's back in the lead. How many chemicals are in secondhand smoke? So there are approximately 7,000 chemicals in secondhand smoke. So last, smoke-free policies are more likely to protect the health of who? So smoke-free policies are more likely to protect the health of higher income people. Congratulations, Coleman, you are the winner for today. So now we're going to go ahead and go back to our presentation. Can anybody send a chat saying that they can see it or not? Perfect. Thank you, Brittany. So what exactly is tobacco? Tobacco is a plant grown for its leaves, which are dried and fermented before being put into tobacco products. Tobacco products can contain nicotine, an ingredient that can lead to addiction, which is why so many people who use tobacco find it difficult to quit. There are also many other potentially harmful chemicals found in tobacco or created by burning it. So how is it used? Smoked tobacco products include cigarettes, cigars, biddies, and critics. And some people also smoke loose tobacco in a pipe or a hookah, which is considered a water pipe. And then there are chewed tobacco products, which include chewing tobacco, snuff, dip, and snus. Snuff can also be sniffed. So for the sake of this presentation, we're going to go over smoking because we're going to be comparing smoking and vaping. And so people can smoke in different ways. There's cigarettes, which is tobacco rolled in paper, cigars, which is tobacco wrapped in a tobacco leaf or paper made from tobacco pulp, or pipes, which is loose leaf tobacco smoked. Current data shows that nearly 14 of every 100 adults in the United States 18 and older smoke cigarettes, which means an estimated of 34.2 million adults in the United States currently smoke cigarettes, and that's two more than 16 million Americans that live with smoking-related diseases. So currently, men are more likely to be smokers than women. Nearly 16 of every 100 adult men, which is around 15.6%, are smokers. 12 of every 100 adult women smoke. And then current cigarette smoking was highest among people ages 25 to 44 years old and 45 to 64 years old. And current cigarette smoking is lowest among people aged 18 to 24 years, which is our typical college demographic. Nearly 8 of every 100 adults ages 18 to 24 smoke. Nearly 17 of 100 adults from 25 to 44 smoke. And then about 16 of every 100 adults, which is 45 to 64 years, smoke. And 8 of every 100 adults aged 65 and older smoke. So although nicotine is addictive, most of the severe health effects of tobacco use comes from other chemicals. Tobacco smoking can lead to lung cancer, chronic bronchitis, and emphysema. It can increase your risk of heart disease, which can lead to stroke or heart attacks. And smoking has been also linked to other cancers, leukemia, cataracts, type 2 diabetes, and pneumonia. All of these risks apply to use of any smoked product, including hookah tobacco. Smokeless tobacco, like snuff or chew, can increase the risk of cancer, especially mouth cancers. Smoking also kills more people per year than illegal drug use, alcohol use, HIV, motor vehicle injury, and firearms combined. So feel free to chime in on this slide. What are some reasons why college students smoke or vape? So one thing is marketing by tobacco companies really heavy hit at this age group. Some students say they only smoke in social settings or they smoke when they drink. It's peer pressure, stress relief. What are other reasons why students might smoke or vape? Feel free to turn your mic off or join in the chat. To fit in. Yes, Jackie, that's a reason. A new experience, that's true. A lot of students might pick up smoking because they're away from their parents for the first time. And so they don't have to, deal with their parents' judgment on their behaviors. Still addicted before college, that's correct, Brittany. Does anybody else have any suggestions of why they might smoke or vape? So oftentimes part of their peer pressure is from not only just their friends, but it can be considered from their family as well. Students who start smoking might have picked it up because members in their family are regular smokers also. So let's get into smoking versus vaping. Mainly the difference between the two is how they're delivered. So smoking is delivered through burning tobacco, and vaping is delivered by heating a liquid. So what are vapes? Vape devices, known as e-cigarettes or e-vaporizers or electronic nicotine delivery systems, are battery-operated devices that people use to inhale an aerosol, which typically contains nicotine, but not always, flavors and other chemicals. They can resemble traditional tobacco cigarettes, also known as cigalikes, cigars, or pipes, or even everyday items like pens or USB memory sticks. Other devices, such as those with fillable tanks, may look a little bit different. But regardless of their design and their appearance, these devices generally operate in similar manners and are made of similar components. And currently, there are more than 460 different e-cigarette brands out on the market. So here's some examples of different vaping products. There's large size tanks, medium size tanks, rechargeable e-cigarettes, disposable e-cigarettes, e-pipes, e-cigars, and e-hookahs. There's products that contain flavored juices without nicotine, flavored juices with nicotine. Some use THC, some use THC and nicotine, and then others use CBD. So e-cigarettes are devices that heat a liquid into an aerosol that the user inhales. The liquid mostly has nicotine and flavoring and other additives. So the nicotine in e-cigarettes and regular cigarettes is addictive. E-cigarettes are considered tobacco products because most of them contain nicotine, which comes from tobacco. And besides nicotine, e-cigarettes can contain harmful and potentially harmful ingredients, including ultrafine particles that can be inhaled deep into the lungs, flavorants such as diacetyl, a chemical linked to serious lung disease, volatile organic compounds, and then heavy metals such as nickel, tin, and lead. So how do vapes exactly work? In many e-cigarettes, puffing activates the battery-powered heating device, which vaporizes the liquid in the cartridge. The person then inhales the resulting aerosol or vapor, calling it vaping. So what's the deal with big tobacco and vaping? And so who exactly is big tobacco? So that's Altria, Reynolds American, Philip Morris International, and British American Tobacco. And so while despite declines in cigarette sales in the United States, the tobacco industry continues to maintain an upward trajectory in profit, generating at least $18.4 billion in 2016, compared to more than the $10 billion they made in 2005. And the two companies that mainly dominate the US market, bringing in at least 80% of the sales, are Altria, which is the parent company of the well-known Marlboro cigarettes, and then Reynolds American, who owns Newport. So e-cigarette companies have enjoyed an even greater growth in the recent years. In 2018 alone, the top 25 e-cigarette manufacturers brought in more than $2.5 billion in sales, according to Nielsen data. And then 96% of these sales were from brands owned in whole or in part by Big Tobacco. This includes popular vaping brand Juul, which is the leading e-cigarette manufacturer, which also sold a 35% minority stake to Altria in December of 2018. As the e-cigarette epidemic has grown, Altria is the maker of the best-selling cigarette brand Marlboro, invested at least $12.8 billion in their stake in the Juul Labs. This investment and the positioning gave the tobacco industry direct access to the pipeline of millions of e-cigarette users, most of whom were not smokers in the first place. Equally important, these new products provide a platform from which the industry can position themselves as trying to help people to quit. Which leads to, why do people switch from smoking to vaping? So while evidence suggests that some may be using them as quitting aids, and more than half of adult e-cigarette users in 2015, which is roughly around 59%, were simultaneous current cigarette users, and another 11% had never been regular smokers, with adult e-cigarette use hovering around 3% since 2014. It doesn't appear that many adults are using the product to actually quit. And one study done questioned the net benefit of e-cigarettes to public health, projecting that for every adult who used e-cigarettes to quit smoking in 2015, another 81 youth and young adult e-cigarette users who never used combustible cigarettes would eventually become daily cigarette smokers by the ages of 35 to 39. But these facts haven't stopped the tobacco industry from hailing e-cigarettes and other new products as a positive health development. Despite not having FDA approval, e-cigarette companies are aggressively pushing the idea that e-cigarettes are a helpful tool to help quit smoking. Juul has actively tried to get around the FDA marketing restrictions that prevent companies from making unauthorized quitting claims by carefully omitting the word quit in its ads, and instead inviting smokers to make the switch to Juul. In recent congressional testimony, the Juul officials attempted to have it both ways by claiming it was intended to help smokers stop smoking and that it was not a cessation product. The industry also implies that its smoke-free products are preferable to the public health strategies that we know to be effective. For example, PMI, which is the Philip Morris company, claims that it's producing smoke-free products that are a better choice for smokers than continued cigarette smoking and can benefit public health. This framing ignores decades of successful tobacco control policies such as taxation, marketing restrictions, and smoke-free laws that have helped millions quit smoking. Other reasons why people might switch is because of the flavors, which is a prominent characteristic of e-cigarettes, and they have been proven to attract young people to tobacco products. And flavored tobacco products also make it easier to start, and some, like menthol, make it harder to quit. And so federal regulations actually banned the sale of flavored cigarettes in 2009, and many e-cigarette companies offer candy-like flavors such as mango, creme brulee, and even unicorn vomit. And a survey that was done found that fruit, mango, and mint are the most popular flavors among 12 to 24-year-olds. And most young users, however, don't realize that flavored tobacco products like a Juul contain nicotine, which is addictive and can be harmful to developing brains. Another reason people have switched from smoking to vaping is the marketing that's been done. The tobacco industry has capitalized on the power of social media to reach a new generation of youth. Advertisements depicting a vibrant, fun, young people relaxing with their favorite product may be similar to a cigarette marketing from decades past, but online platforms enable their messages to spread further and more quickly. And then more than half of Juul-related Instagram posts, for example, were found to be youth-related. And then while Juul deleted its Instagram and Facebook accounts in 2018, the way in which viral content spreads among young people ensures that Juul videos will continue to circulate around the internet. And so even if the company is no longer creating the content, it's still being shared. And then the company's social media marketing efforts are part of a Federal Trade Commission investigation that was launched in late 2018 to determine if Juul actually engaged in deceptive marketing practices. Also, there also might be a convenience added to vaping versus smoking. People may choose to vape over smoking, being that it can be seen as more convenient. For example, in the city of Huntsville, this is important to know, there's actually a smoke-free ordinance inside city limits so that there is a reduced exposure to secondhand smoke inside establishments. And so people might switch to vaping for the convenience that it's much easier to hide a vape and hide vaping smoke or vaping fumes versus hiding cigarette smoke and the smell. What are some other reasons that people might switch from smoking to vaping? Feel free to comment in the chat or turn your mic off. Any thoughts on why people might switch from smoking to vaping? They might think it's less harmful. Yes, Jackie, that's a great example of why. What about the price? Some people might think it's a little bit cheaper to vape than smoke. Okay. Oh, this is a good answer. There's more culture to vaping than smoking, and then there's online selling groups. I highly agree. I think the current culture, especially across college campuses, that vaping is in and smoking is out. And I think partially that's because of the flavors. I mean, obviously it tastes better than smoking and it's cooler. or considered cooler. And there might be a stigma attached to smoking as regular smoking as well versus vaping. So let's talk about risks associated with vaping. So there are a lot of brain risks. The part of the brain that's responsible for decision making and impulse control is not yet fully developed during adolescence. Young people are more likely to take risks with their health and safety, including use of nicotine and other drugs. Youth or young adults are also uniquely at risk for long-term, long-lasting effects of exposing their developing brains to nicotine. These risks include nicotine addiction, mood disorders, and permanent lowering of impulse control. Nicotine also changes the way synapses are formed, which can harm the parts of the brain that control attention and learning. Addiction is also a risk. So it is known that nicotine in e-cigarettes affects the brain. Until about 25, the brain is still growing. And so each time a new memory is created or a new skill is learned, stronger connections or synapses, like we mentioned earlier, are built between the brain cells. Young people's brains build synapses faster than adult brains. And because addiction is a form of learning, adolescents can get addicted more easily than adults. The nicotine in e-cigarettes and other tobacco products can also prime the adolescent brain for addiction to other drugs such as cocaine. And so for behavior risks, e-cigarette use among young people and young adults is strongly linked to the use of other tobacco products like regular cigarettes, cigars, and hookahs. And some evidence suggests that e-cigarettes use is also linked to alcohol use and other substance use, like I mentioned earlier, like cocaine and marijuana. And then some e-cigarette products can also be used to deliver drugs, such as marijuana, while they're in use. Another risk is e-cigarette or vaping product use associated lung injury, which is also known as EVALI. EVALI is the name given by the Center of Disease Control and Prevention to the dangerous, newly identified lung disease linked to vaping. The illness was first recognized by the CDC in August of 2019, so that was roughly only 1 year ago. And this is after the health department officials across the country began to work together to study cases of severe and sometimes fatal lung infections that arose suddenly in otherwise healthy individuals. The number of people who needed to be hospitalized after experiencing symptoms ranging from shortness of breath to fever quickly rose in many states around the US. And as more details emerged, doctors and researchers discovered that patients shared at least one common risk. All reported that they had recently used e-cigarette or vaping products. And even though the agency announced that vitamin E acetate appears associated with this vaping-related illness, federal investigators have not yet identified a single ingredient, although there could be several, that causes EVALI. It's therefore unclear exactly how the condition develops or why, and in the most severe and life-threatening cases, it causes the lungs to stop functioning altogether as a whole. So let's talk about how to quit maybe both smoking and vaping. So both behavioral treatments and medications can help quit, but the combination of medication with counseling is often more effective than either alone. Behavioral treatments use a variety of methods to help people quit smoking, ranging from self-help materials or counseling. And these treatments teach people to recognize the high-risk situations and develop strategies to deal with them. For example, people who hang out with others who smoke or vape are also more likely to smoke or vape. and less likely to quit. There are nicotine replacement therapies, which are also known as NRTs, and they're the first medications in the US that the US FDA approved for the use of smoking cessation therapy. Current FDA-approved NRT products include chewing gum, transdermal patch, nasal sprays, inhalers, and lozenges. NRTs also deliver a controlled dose of nicotine to relieve withdrawal symptoms while the person tries to quit. Other medications that can be used are Zyban and Chantix, which are two FDA-approved non-nicotine medications that have helped people quit smoking. They also target nicotine receptors in your brain, easing withdrawal symptoms and blocking the effects of nicotine if people start smoking again. So some impacts of quitting are that after 72 hours after stopping, it's easier to breathe. 1 week without smoking can increase your chances of staying successful by 9%. 2 weeks after non-smoking, breathing and walking is easier. 1 month after quitting, your energy increases, and 3 months after quitting, your fertility starts to return to normal with lower chances of premature birth. 6 months post-use, and stress is easier to deal with. After 1 year, your breathing is much easier and almost back to normal. After 3 years, your risk for heart attack goes down to the same as a non-smoker. After 5 years, your risk for lung cancer decreases by half. And after 15 years, you have the same heart attack/stroke risk as somebody who's never smoked at all. So the longer you go without using, the better off your body is. So let's talk about SHSU policy. SHSU currently endorses a smoke-free and tobacco-free environment and prohibits the use of tobacco products on campus. These products include cigarettes, cigars, pipes, and smokeless tobacco, and all other tobacco products. This policy extends to faculty, staff, students, and visitors, and the ban also includes electronic cigarette and/or vaping. But the thing with vaping is that it's easily a lot more hidden than cigarettes. And so I guess it's used more across campus, but also I don't think people are aware that vaping is included in this policy. In the chat, feel free to say whether or not you knew that vaping is not allowed on campus. Karen said she knew that. How many of you have, they used to stress no vaping specifically instead of no smoking? Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because there's more, in this population, there's more people likely to vape than smoke? And feel free to turn your mics off and answer if you're comfortable. Students are more likely to vape walking around campus than smoke a cigarette. I believe that's true because it's easier to hide a vape and the smell isn't as noticeable. I also think it's easier to vape on campus because just from stories I've heard from other students, one of the really popular devices is the one that looks like a USB. or a pen. And so it could look like you're sitting in class with your pen, but you're really hitting your vape. Does anybody else have anything to add to the conversation? Well, thank you for joining me today. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us. You can email healthpromotion@shsu.edu. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And we also give free wellness kits away in our office. So if you need a wellness kit, we have some covering cold and flu, healthy hygiene, menstrual matters, stress relief. So if you would like a free wellness kit, stop by our office and ask for one.